Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the 31st incantation of the Historical Humans podcast. Today's episode, we're getting a little festive. We're going to be talking about Saint Valentine. No, not the day, the person. My name's
Yep.
Justin Woods, and I'm joined today by my fellow co-host Aaron Gilpin and Colum Coleman. And no more fluffing
Yeah,
about who's Saint Valentine. Come on.
yeah, you heard right. Saint Valentine's Day is in fact the day dedicated to Saint Valentine's, which means that there is in fact a person behind it.
Wait,
Yep.
it not Cupid?
Yep. So it's no. Cupid is something else entirely. That
It's not Erdos.
no.
Oh
There is in fact a human being responsible for all the misery in the world on this day.
Oh, tell me about it. It ruins my birthday almost every other year.
Who had under a minute? Who had
I
under a
don't
minute
know,
on
but
that?
God, that's got to be a
It
new
does.
record.
It does. It does.
Save
'cause
it for
it's
the end.
Valentine's Day.
Save it for the end.
This
Fine.
was a whole debate
You'll
in
get your
several instances
platform.
of pre-production on today's podcast. Everyone,
Fine.
you know, who had under a minute? I don't know. Someone will get the betting board and find out later.
Okay, so who is the Saint Valentine? Like Valentine, Italy, Rome?
Yep. So Saint Valentine,
says-
the Saint Valentine in question, because yes, there is more than one of them, is Saint Valentine of Rome, a 3rd century saint. The only thing known for absolute certainty about him is the day he died,
Oh no.
which
I mean-
is 269 CE.
Nice.
Fitting unison and fitting number for a 21st century podcast on the man associated with love. Love.
Thankfully not maturity, because otherwise we'd be
I mean, to
there
be
are a
fair,
list
we
of
don't
things
get
associated with
we
this
don't
man.
always get like confirmed days when someone dies. I mean, let's
Yeah.
face it.
However, when that day is the day you are personally executed by the Emperor of Rome, people write it down.
Now, what do you have to do to be executed by the emperor? Well, I imagine not
that-
a lot.
Well, that does come up later in some of the myths, but the really short version we'll get into more detail later is basically Valentine got arrested. He managed to secure an audience with the emperor on account of several bits of shenaniganery,
Shenaniganery.
which he performed well imprisoned, resulting in the emperor coming down and speaking with him, at which point St. Valentine immediately attempted to convert him to Christianity, and it did not go over well.
I can't imagine why, considering the imperial cult.
A man in prison rags immediately attempts to convince the emperor he should become a Christian.
So you hear there's this great guy called Jesus, and you wouldn't believe what he's done for us.
He goes full door-to-door Baptist on the man.
Which the crazy thing is, this is 269. It's just over like 2.5 centuries since Jesus actually was around.
Yeah,
Yep.
but it's not until Constantine much
Yeah.
later.
And-
until
and-
we're
Yeah, it
you
is.
you don't get in trouble. So the misunderstanding is that Constantine legalized Christianity. It wasn't that. Constantine just made it so it's no longer illegal to not perform the state sacrifices, which was an issue going back all the way to the earliest or the
Yeah,
I
which-
think the second
well,
Jewish
No, so
rebellion.
the point I'm
Sacrifices-
making is
yeah.
like that was as long ago as like Abraham Lincoln to us. Well, maybe a bit longer. So like George Washington, no?
No, 150 versus 260.
Okay, so yeah, about George Washington to us. Granted, some people
he's
venerate
been
him.
around for about in America. He's been around for about.
Oh no! First
We're
we
bringing
measured
back the
distance
one
in football
America
fields,
measurement.
and now we're
If you are British, listening to this podcast, please let us know, because Americans will measure using anything but the metric system.
Anyway. So
even time.
a big part of why Constantine does make the state sacrifices no longer illegal, which was what led to most of the Christian purges, as Christians were heretical for not making state sacrifices, and for all three Jewish wars within the Roman Empire, because again, not making state sacrifices. The issue is Valentine isn't around for the reign of Constantine. He's around under the reign of Claudius II, who, despite being one of the cornerstones for helping to end the third century crisis, was also an absolutely horrible person.
Oh yeah, he did
Wait,
not
a
luck
Roman
out with
emperor
that one.
not being an upstanding
It's a third century Roman emperor, all right? The first century ones are decadent. The third century ones are violent.
Yeah, you gotta get to about the 4th century where things like start to be at least
second century, well managed. First century, decadent. Third century, absolute barbaric warfare.
So,
yeah.
for my knowledge and for the general public at home, what does the religious situation look like? Obviously, you got the Roman pantheon, but like, are Christians heretical? Right? Is that
Not yet. Christianity and Judaism remains heresy in the Roman Empire during the third century crisis. However, it is gaining traction Christianity gains traction during the third century crisis on account of the fact that for about 100 years, you have more emperors than you have years on the calendar.
It also doesn't help. So, like,
mass political instability.
One of the ways to look at how Christianity was viewed is for a long time, Christianity was viewed as a split off from Judaism. Mm-hmm. But as time goes on, it's seen more in the light of a mystery cult, which mystery cults have always existed in Rome, or at least the Roman Empire has in general, which is what Christianity kind of fit into because the rites were usually secret in mystery cult.
Yeah, basically,
and you had temples where you would have secret rituals in, and early in the eastern part of the empire, you would actually see Christian temples as homes, actually like in homes, so people would gather for religious service. So and these religious cults or these mystery cults, including early Christianity, after it kind of gets its split from Judaism, is very attractive to wealthy people in the sense of an afterlife.
Yeah, so basically what Christianity did was it was essentially, to the Roman point of view, a niche little cult where you had to know the passwords, know the rites, know the rituals before you could be admitted to the cult. And once you were admitted to the cult, you were promised a prosperous heavenly afterlife, which the standard issue Roman pantheon did not give you. The standard Roman pantheon really kind of had a this is your one existence, live for today. There was some reincarnation and an underworld, but none of that was very pleasant, and there was no guarantee that you're coming back to any of the good stuff you had.
I would like to also add for a little tidbit, because I learned about this in one of my classes. Because there's no real, in the ancient world, at least specifically in this Roman pantheon, they're kind of like two major ideas of life after death in a sense. One is one that Colum mentioned, like you kind of just end up in the underworld, which comes from like a Greek tradition. But there's another one. Yeah, essentially you go to Hades and you have like different planes of Hades that your soul just kind of exists in.
There's too many names for it.
Yeah, there's quite a few. But there's another one that you kind of see often in terms of which kind of relates to part of the state sacrifices, but also other ceremonies where you honor the dead. Essentially your soul just kind of wanders the land. Your soul essentially kind of just becomes tied to the land, and it's part of the reason why you might see cremation. Part of the idea for cremations is so the soul is released from the body, and therefore your soul is kind of just free. So but there is no real consensus, at least in the literary sources, as to what happened, how Romans viewed what happens to the soul after death. So you might see the Hades one, or you might just see, the land. Like your soul just walks up and you're just like, awesome, cool. I'm gonna wander the land for a while, guys. Like this is
And
cool.
Christianity
you
is
can
just like
basically
golden ticket.
Yeah, it
Christianity
really is.
offers you this paradise. If you agree with us, you get paradise, as opposed to spending eternity as the ghost of Bob Marley.
I've got a golden ticket. I've got a golden ticket.
But back to an overview of the man in question today. He is Saint Valentine. So in 269, he is martyred and burned on the Via Flaminia, north of Rome. And a little overview of his life. He has several miracles and other good works associated with him. First of all, there are several stories involving him curing the blind, usually by placing his hands over their eyes and then playing peekaboo with the world.
Hey, didn't Mr. Beast just do something like that?
Yeah,
Yes,
he cured
and he's
1,000
currently being
people.
called demonic for it. So
That's a whole
so,
other story. There's a whole lot of
Beast.
nuance with that.
Saint Beast of America. Here we go.
We should petition to canonize him. We have 100 confirmed miracles. Or
Yeah,
no, you
1,000.
can only be canonized after you've been executed.
So next,
But-
oh no,
No. All right, I'm gonna stop that implication in its tracks. He also
Mr. Beast.
he also at great personal risk to himself would house and hide other Christians from the Roman authorities. Christians were still heavily persecuted, especially under Claudius II, who is the predominant emperor of his life. And he would often hide them away and perform secret marriage rituals from Christian couples, because there was a Roman law at the time involving newlyweds and not being forced to go to war. Thus, he would secretly marry people. They would come out with like the Roman equivalent of a marriage certificate, and suddenly the young man can't be drafted because it's his duty to now, start a family with this woman so that there is, in fact, another generation of people to be drafted for this ongoing civil war.
Yeah, civil war that lasts like a few decades kind of does bad things to the population.
The 3rd century crisis is a 40-year-long civil war that contains more emperors than years.
Year of the 4 Emperors is always a fun time.
Yeah,
there's
also,
at least 3 of them.
Yeah, there's several.
So, do we know if this guy actually existed?
So that's the tricky thing. When it comes, there's several other things that he did, but if we want to go to that first, we can. The issue with Saint Valentine is that many of his myths and stories, this telling of the miracles and deeds he did, are somewhat contradictory. And in one part, this might be because it's the 3rd century crisis. There's not a lot of good record keeping going on, and what records are being kept are constantly in danger of being destroyed by military conflict and just general neglect. The other thing is, it's entirely possible that there were 2 people in Rome named Valentine at the time, as Valentine was a very popular name for several centuries. I believe it is from about the 2nd to 8th century is about the time in which Valentine is a very popular name. It translates as the worthy one. So among Romans and Christians, it's a pretty good name to give your kid. Unlike Cicero, which is nosewort.
I feel like that was a low dig at Cicero.
No, that was his family's name. Was the big nose people. They were the house of the big.
Of course.
Well,
at least he's remembered for his tongue, at least.
Yes. Saint Valentine also was known for converting important Roman figures, including the man who was supposed to try him. He supposedly converted the judge at his trial, which was one of the things that drew the attention of Emperor Claudius II and ultimately led to his death.
Oh man.
What a fucking baller move! Like, judge is like putting him on trial, and he's
On
like,
trial for heresy against the Roman state, converts judge to heretical religion.
but Your Honor, have you heard of Jesus?
Yeah.
The trade meme of like, I take your conviction and trade you the golden ticket.
I give you.
I give you Jesus.
I'll trade you your conviction for mine.
Oh no!
Oh,
It's
damn.
convict Jesus.
Yes. So, well, he is largely unknown for a lot of this. Archaeologists have excavated his body, or what is understood to be his body, in a catacomb under a church dedicated to the man. So, at the very least, someone was put in that grave, that is, labeled for the man. So there is a body of Saint Valentine. There was a person. The question is whether or not it's the right body and all these other, because there are many relics of the man too that get around Europe.
Does he also have 12 fingers and 19 toes?
No, he does appear to have 2 skulls.
Oh.
One on the body in the catacombs, another one that was sent away to let me check my records real quick. Another one that is crowned in flowers in the Basilica of Santa Maria in Cosmodin, Rome.
Did they just go, well, we need
someone's lying. Someone's lying.
This is religion. Someone's always lying. There's one true God, said 10 different religions.
Oh, okay.
I will start a war.
Oh, you started a holy war.
I'm being
in the comments.
Yes. So he's officially known in the calendars as Saint Valentine of Rome to help differentiate him from the other known Saint Valentines. However, there may have been 2 people doing this job.
Oh, so that's fine that we have 2 heads.
It's perfectly acceptable. So he is originally associated with courtly love, with the traditional ideals of sort of romance and courtship that come from our time before we had standard dating culture that we have now.
Courtly love, not Courtney love.
No, courtly love. It's a very high society, very rich people association, because that is where a lot of his conversions took place. He targeted the wealthy and powerful.
So that one didn't end
had a certain appeal. Christianity had a certain appeal to these people at the time. His depiction is one of he's always surrounded by flowers and birds. As a result of this, the cupids that we know first Valentine's Day come in later. They are in fact a paganism and a bit of an anachronism for the man as well.
Those pagans, those pesky pagans.
Since he was neither a pagan nor had any association with the god Eros. But it's very fun for him. And he was a patron of quite a few things that I find very fun. So first, he's the patron of love, of young people.
So Woodstock.
He is of love, young people, and happy marriage. So kind of the anti-Hera of this thing, who is the goddess of marriage but lives a life of pure misery.
Well, that's also because Hera gets cucked consistently, but
again, lives a life of pure misery.
We don't talk about Zeus Thundercock here.
Yep. However, he is also the patron saint of a number of odd things, including epilepsy.
Okay.
Fainting
goes together.
Greetings.
Okay, that's not bad.
Plague.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he's the patron saint of the plague. So patron saint of the corona.
Oh no!
Wait. Do we like the plague or just plague in general?
Just plague. He is the
Okay.
patron saint of plagues.
So I know who to pray to next time I get a cold.
Or
Yes.
or do you pray to him if you want to cause a plague? Like, what end of the plague spectrum does he fall on?
It is decidedly unclear. This appears to be the sort of association. For example, the Greek god Hermes, is simultaneously the god of shepherds, wolves, travelers, and bandits, which means that you pray for him whether you're hoping to not get robbed or whether you're hoping to rob somebody.
Interesting.
Same deal.
So, Aaron, we'll go on each end of the spectrum and we'll see who gets listened to the most.
Yeah.
I feel like the closest one out of any of us that he would answer to is probably Colum.
Thank you for that.
Who doesn't listen to the prayers of the unholy, though?
But also, I'm curious about the beekeepers. What that would.
Yes, the last two things on the list is travelers and finally beekeepers. No, I do not know why. I don't think anyone knows why.
So February 14th should actually be National Beekeepers Day.
No, it should be
and
called.
Also Plague Day.
It should be called Bee Happy Day.
Oh,
We tie into so many things with a bad pun.
All right,
Also,
I
I
hereby
guess
vote to
Valentine's-
execute you from the group.
Martyrdom.
No. It's not execute. It's excommunicate.
No. Not in
You
this
have no
instance.
authority over me. You have no authority over me, goatee man.
Let's see. Also, I guess we should make February 14th also National Epilepsy Awareness Day.
Yeah.
Unless we already have one. Do we have one?
We probably
Probably.
have one. However, fun fact with February 14th, it's supposed to just be the feast day of St. Valentine's, which means that all you're really supposed to do is eat.
Oh God, I love a good feast day.
Hey,
However,
I'm okay with that.
once again, not how it happens.
Also, producers
Chaucer,
notes,
I hate you so much.
National Epilepsy Day is November 17th.
Wait a minute.
Really? Wow.
Darn it, never mind. There's a bunch of other days associated with the various St. Valentines. I'm like, if that's another St. Valentine, I'm gonna lose it, but nope. No dice. We come close, but not there.
I guess it's better to have it that day because it would definitely be overshadowed by Valentine's Day anyway.
So
Yeah.
I actually like the idea too. On February 14th, you just have a feast,
yeah,
like an
that's
all you
what
can
you
eat
did.
buffet.
Yeah, it's the feast where you honor this man and you pray and give thanks for the things that he is supposed to be a saint of, like, not getting the plague or
For
not
causing the
having
plague.
epilepsy or the fact that your wife still hasn't left you. Things like that.
At least a happy marriage, you know.
Well, we got to translate it into boomer humor a little bit just for this.
Oh.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Happy
And,
life. Happy
yeah.
wife eats a happy life.
And so there's a fun thing for you. So in 1969, St. Valentine's legacy underwent a little bit of a rework exactly 1700 years after his death, as he was removed from the Catholic General Roman calendar, which basically is how you get more or less decanonized as a saint.
Oh.
That's rude.
However, he does remain a saint. He retains his spot in the Roman martyrology. February 14th remains his holy day. However, he is no longer celebrated on the general calendar of where all the saints and all the saints get put. And the reason he's no longer on this calendar, and this is not the first time people have been removed from the calendar, it's happened several times throughout history. The reason he was removed is because we know nothing about his life except for the day he dies. That is the only thing that can be proven in any way, shape, or form. His identification has been inconsistent. Again, we have two heads.
DNA test him. See which one matches the skeleton.
Plot twist, they both match it.
Oh no!
He remains a recognized Catholic saint. However, he will no longer be celebrated on the annual calendar, and he really hasn't for 60 some years at this point. So there's this is not a recent development.
Hold on, wait a minute. This man died in 269.
Yep.
Then 1700 years later, he's
Yes.
removed.
Yep. Yep. He remains a saint.
They
He remains
really
a martyr.
waited 1700 years.
Yep.
I just imagine it was a very long, thorough
Exactly.
debate. Like, all right, every year we convene. What do we think about Saint Valentine?
Yeah. Yeah. But basically, look, Lord Valentine was my D&D character. Saint Valentine's a completely different thing. Yeah, if Caleb was on here, was able to join us on here today, he would have some stories about that man. But anyway, he remains a saint, remains a martyr. He's just no longer celebrated by the Catholic Church. Meanwhile, the Eastern Orthodox Church celebrates him twice.
Good for them.
He gets one day on July the 6th as an elder of the church, and another day on July the 30th as a martyr, because as if you become a martyr and if you are a church leader, you get a day for each one.
No, okay.
You collect them like Pokemon badges.
Hey, I got 2. How many you got?
I got all 8. I'm gonna go challenge the Council of Nicaea.
Oh no!
Oh.
Oh, so many things wrong. There's so many bad historical religious jokes in this podcast.
I hate it here.
Oh, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. All right, so we can at this point, it's a good point to jump into just what exactly are all the stories of Saint Valentine that make this man so contradictory that the Catholic Church would choose to doubt itself.
That's kind of an achievement in itself.
Yeah, achievement unlocked. Papal doubt. 0.1% of players have this achievement.
See, I was hoping to get it via scientific discovery, circa Galileo, but
you made a pope change his mind about something.
I'm sorry, when you try to convince a state leader to convert religions, you can do that then.
Yep. So there are 2 accounts of Saint Valentine, and both follow the same thing. The first is simply titled either the story or the legend of the judge Asterius. In this story, Valentine is placed under house arrest by a Roman judge who is aptly titled Judge Asterius, Asterius being his name and judge just being the translation of his title. He is arrested on account of being the former bishop of Terni, Narnia, and Amelia.
Oh no, Narnia was Christian?
He is. Yes, there is a real historical place in the Roman Empire called Narnia. It is not ruled by Aslan, nor is it subject to a witch of ice.
But Aslan is quite literally just Lion Jesus.
Yes.
Oh, no.
There is a reason why C.S. Lewis named things the way he did. Valentine being the Bishop of Narnia, I'm certain played some small role in that, as it was a Christian convent.
It's even funnier when he converts to Protestantism.
Now, while he is arrested in the house of the judge, which means that he's basically held in captivity at the judge's estate with the judge's family, because he's not a violent criminal, and thus he is sort of, there to sort of, we're going to see how you live, we're going to see how you act, and we're going to judge you based on that, because you're accused of heresy. So we're going to see what you do that's so heretical. While he's there, he engages in theological discussions with Asterius, during which he pledges the validity of Jesus above all else, as you do as a Christian bishop. This prompts the judge Asterius to lay everything on the line in a bet. For the judge Asterius has a daughter who has gone blind And he charges Valentine to restore sight to his daughter, and he swears that he will obey Valentine in all things and convert to Christianity if Valentine can do it. Valentine places his hand over her eyes and plays peekaboo with the world. When he takes his hand off after praying, she can see again. Asterius makes good on his word, which is a rare trait in the 3rd century crisis. He goes through his entire house, smashes all of his pagan idols, fasts for 3 days, is baptized, and forces the other 44 people
Holy
living in his house to do the same.
Wow.
Okay, I got a question.
I think I know what your
Isn't
question
gambling
is.
a sin? And he straight up gambled on this.
Well, I just want to know what his
You bet
charisma
on
modifier
Jesus.
is.
So the 44 people in his house is because this is a Roman villa, and thus in this Roman villa there are not only the family that lives there, but also the cooks, the chauffeurs, the live-in tutors for the children, and the many, many slaves, because let's be honest, this is a villa. There is probably a vineyard or an olive garden out back. No, not the restaurant.
But when you're there,
Yeah.
your family.
When you're here, your family. So all 44 people in the restaurant are converted.
No! That is a new hellscape. An Olive Garden where they convert you for dinner.
Buddy, it's supposed to be Italian food. If you were expecting like nothing to be Christian related, I hate to tell you, but the wine is the blood of Jesus Christ.
Listen.
Oh no.
Asterius then goes one step further, as when Valentine is caught, he is caught with a number of young Christians looking to get married, who he is, shielding from Roman law. So they've been thrown in prison with him. They're all freed. All of them.
Wow.
This causes issues later on with Claudius II, because that takes us to sort of the other version of the story, which talks more about Claudius the second and his role in it, because in the second version, he is in the imperial dungeon when he does these shenanigans. The second version is rather wonderfully titled for the 21st century, in my opinion.
No.
It is known as none other than the Nuremberg Chronicle. And no, it is not a war crimes list.
We do not endorse war crimes.
Wait, if it's the Nuremberg trials, those are good things because those people got tried.
Yeah. No, but the book is titled the Nuremberg Chronicle.
Nuremberg has a lot of really interesting historical places.
Nuremberg is a very fun name for it. I'm going to leave it at that. But the Nuremberg Chronicle, this is considered the first written representation of Saint Valentine. This is the first sort of account we have of him, is this chronicle. And it states that Valentine was arrested for marrying Christians in Rome and for basically hiding Christians from the law, protecting the persecuted, i.e. you're a Christian criminal and Valentine's house is a safe house until the feds blow over.
Not the feds.
No, not the speculatores.
Yeah. So in this version, he is imprisoned and he meets with Emperor Claudius II after he converts the jailer to Christianity in a bid to get out of the imperial dungeons by curing the jailer's daughter of blindness.
Okay, so very similar parallels.
Yeah, very, very similar. However, at this point, this attempt directly draws the attention of Claudius II. He does not get out of prison only to be found later, only to be rearrested and, harangued by Claudius. He doesn't get out in this. He stays in prison. he meets with Emperor Claudius Gothicus, aka Claudius II, during which he attempts to convert Claudius, which prompts Claudius to lay down the bet, no, you first, which Valentine refuses. So Claudius then tells him he will die. Valentine accepts that he will die, and he is executed outside the Flaminian Gate on February 14th, 269.
Nice.
However, because the 3rd century crisis goes from 235 to 284, various other accounts and scraps that survive indicate that the death date was in the year 270, 273, or 280, depending on who you believe, as anything that was written down about this man was written down decades after his death.
Given that the Romans generally did a census every 2 years, it's probably more likely that it was 270.
Yeah, well, that, and also just the general idea to the fact that it's not until 285 that we aren't constantly losing records from mass civil war. So there is a 5 to 16 year gap between when this man dies and when someone can write it down without risk of dying.
True.
He's a nerd. He's writing stuff down. Get him.
Yeah. Basically, if you were doing anything other than stabbing someone in the back or fighting a war, you were probably going to die. You were probably going to die if you were doing those things as well, but at least that way you had armor and an actual sword.
True.
So there is a couple of variations. My personal favorite of the variations is that when he was led out to be executed, he left a note to the daughter of the jailer who he had cured of blindness. That was signed. It contained just 2 words. It was simply, "Your Valentine." And that is the first Valentine's note in history.
That's got to be the smoothest fucking thing I've ever heard. Like, that man was suave if he wrote "Your Valentine." Like, oh, he know exactly what he did.
I have questions.
It ain't a
How? In what context would "Your Valentine" make sense?
Well, like yours truly. Like,
yeah.
How old was he when this man died?
Yours. That is not known.
Exactly.
We do not have any birth record of the man. However, he appears to have been around long enough to have the sort of renown as to be named bishop. So suffice to say, he was not less than 30.
Right. So when they say like the jailer's daughter, we usually assume like at least
this is not a child. This is probably not a child. This is probably this is at least a young woman. This is probably an adult dependent of the jailer.
Also, it's just kind of interesting because if she was blind, then she doesn't know how to read. So like, how could she read the note?
It's
right.
It's most likely that she was not born blind, but rather had cataracts.
Oh, and he cured the cataracts.
And he supposedly he would have cured that. I believe the general idea is that she had gone blind, as Romans did not have any sort of eye care. They did not have optometry. So they really, if your eyesight went, that was the end of it.
Oh my God! Just imagine being a 2nd century optometrist. People are like, he's a miracle worker. He cures people's blindness.
Being a 2nd century optometrist is basically how you become Jesus.
Can I borrow the time machine?
That's like half the miracles in this is I treated leprosy or I cured blindness.
Huh.
To be fair, after you've been blind or at least stuck with cataracts for a while, any real improvement is like seeing again, probably.
Yeah.
But then again, I've seen videos on how they cure cataracts, or at least how they would fix it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still questioning on whether or not he could have actually done it, like any sort of way, like other than just like sticking like maybe just like a tiny toothpick in and be like,
Yeah.
alrighty, let's see what this does.
Yeah, anything short, any consistent way short of divine intervention, because let's be honest, that's really the only explanation we would have if this were to happen in its time. Is like, yeah, there's no medicine for this.
Yeah.
It either didn't happen or there's a god. So I know
Yeah.
what camps you're in.
Yeah, so we're
Yeah. This is this is
so
this is not a
I'm still
particularly
more
Anyways,
skeptical.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Pope Julius the First.
Yeah. Yeah. So now we get into his memory. So how is Valentine remembered? Pope Julius I, who ruled 337 to 352, is the first man to really give Valentine the recognition that he would seem to deserve for everything that he's done. He is said to have built a church near the Ponte Mole in the memory of Valentine. The issue is that he supposedly did it for his friend and contemporary. However, Valentine has been dead for over half a century at the time Julius did this. So there is some confusion as to what Valentine Julius was doing this for, as Valentine is still a popular name in the 300s.
Oh no, the first miscommunication.
It gets worse. The gate was called Porta Valentini for much of its history. Now it is known as the Porta del Popolo. We don't really know what sponsored that name change here at Historical Humans. We just know it happened.
I mean, it could have been Pope Julius the First had a vision of Saint Valentine's where Pope Valentine or Saint Valentine was like, "We're friends now."
Yeah. Usually they're more specific when that happens. Usually they tend to cry it through the streets, especially a mid 4th century pope like Julius.
I'm just saying, not we don't have records for everything. That part
Yeah,
might
no.
have been just left out.
Yeah, you never know, but like it's also entirely possible that there was someone else named Valentine that Julius was trying to honor, another Valentine of Rome, because your name, literally how we identify people is your name of the city you are in.
True, that's fair.
That is that. So there's a lot of fallibility in this. The second bit of recognition he gets is from Gelasius I, a pope who ruled from 492 to 496, who is the man who granted Valentine the rank of saint and gifted to him the saint's day of February 14th. This was during the last year of Gelasius's reign. So it is among the last major acts performed by this pope. It's always nice that you get a big Death Day celebration.
Happy Death Day!
Happy Death Day, everyone!
Yep. So just think about that this Valentine's Day. You're celebrating a holy man being burned alive on the side of a road.
That was created 200 years after his supposed death.
Yeah. Well, that's when he got canonized. That's not when he burned. He burned for a lot of it.
Did he burn? Did he actually burn?
Yes, he was put to the torch on the road outside the city of Rome as a warning to those who would basically be Christian proselytizers.
I guess the Romans learned last time after what happens when they crucify somebody.
Oh yeah, that takes way too long to kill you. It doesn't go
well. Then people tend to make a religion out of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was
you just
gonna
went
say.
straight with the burning.
Oh,
I will
no.
now be founding a new religion called Spartacanism on account of what happened to that man.
I mean,
Okay,
shit.
yeah, I'll
That was
subscribe.
pretty memorable.
I mean,
Yeah.
what
We
did
still
he do?
talk about it.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's a really good movie that was made in the 60s about it.
Spartacus?
Not entirely accurate, but it was still a fun movie.
No,
Yeah.
we only deal with historically accurate movies like Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
Or
get the
Brad
fuck
Pitt's
out of
troll.
here.
Hey, he punched Nazis, okay?
Dun, dun.
That's his only redeemable quality.
Yep. I don't know. There's some more things going on there, but anyway, uh, then the record becomes fairly quiet on Valentine. He's got a feast day. He's one of about 1,000 others on like a 300 some day calendar, so he's not anything too special until the Middle Ages, where he begins to take on uh, notions of romance. See, although he is the saint of courtly love and happy marriage,
You can be romantic in those.
romance as a concept doesn't really get a lot of momentum for it. For a lot of history, it's usually, courtship, duty. Dad said you have to marry this person.
But
Kind of
Dad,
kind of thing. Yeah, happy marriage is not often. Marriage for love is not often a thing.
At least not
And
for the aristocrats.
yeah,
what
and
about the Aristocats?
this is shut up. We don't need mouse lawyers. Um, anyway, this is actually not for anything associated with Valentine, but rather because in the Middle Ages, a superstition came about that birds paired for lifelong mating in February. And Valentine is the nearest saint with an association of love. Therefore, he gets this new concept of romance and, springtime, new life, all the birds mate and sing, tra la 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 la, fairy princess stuff starts happening.
Okay, it's been brought up a few times, and I'm not entirely sure the audience might know what courtly love really is. If anyone who's familiar with like King Arthur might know more, but I think for the general audience, they might need a bit of a quick rundown of how different courtly love is compared to romantic.
Just define it. Just jump in and define it.
Well, no, I just wanted to make sure, I wanted to see if you did, but
just go. I've been talking for a while.
My understanding, at least, of courtly love from what I've read so far is it's sort of a duty and honor bound love to a queen or a maiden. So it's not meant to be romantic. It's not meant to be sexual. It's meant to almost strictly be honor and duty bound. Kind of like there's kind of like that. You kind of see some of that trope in like a lot of other things where it's like the knight is protecting the queen while the king is away because he loves the queen so much in a duty and honor bound sense.
It's devotion to an individual that's not necessarily sexual in nature.
Yeah,
it's this idea of devoted companionship or devoted servant, usually among people of various noble ranks. Lancelot and Guinevere is a big one with Arthurian legend because the big issue and contention in it is that Lancelot violates courtly love with all its devotion and honors by actually, sleeping with the queen.
Yeah, and the thing is, like in the medieval period, I believe at least in the high medieval period, it is a very popular trope.
It is a very popular trend and a very popular trope. In fact, a number of knights are added to the Arthurian canon for the sole purpose of expanding on concepts of courtly love. I believe Sir Tristan, Sir Galahad, and Sir Lancelot are all later additions to the Arthurian canon for the sole purpose of discussing that trope and providing more content for the Arthurian court.
Yeah, but I just wanted to go on a little bit of a tangent for that, because I know it's brought up.
I will say now, if we're talking about people that should have love and dutiful and to the duty, I think we should focus on Geoffrey Chaucer.
Geoffrey Chaucer. first of his name, Lord of the Andals and First Men, Protector of the Realm.
Yes.
God.
Joffrey.
So Chaucer here is a prolific 14th century writer. He is responsible for a lot of works of literature. And it is believed that he has invented Valentine's Day as we know it today, as this sort of romantic couples get together. You know, you swoon, you do romantic gestures, all that pizzazz. And this is because of a book that he wrote called, well, it's a poem actually called The Parliament of Fowls in 1375. Now, there is no record of any sort of romantic attachment or romantic celebration of Valentine's Day before 1375, but afterwards, it explodes across Europe.
Is that like fowls as in like the bird? The type of bird?
No, Foules. I believe it is referring to a place. I could be mistaken.
It's probably French, isn't it?
It's no, it's British English. It's I'm looking it up. I'm doing my best like last minute Google here. British English for the fabric used to make a dress.
Oh.
So basically, you know, a parliament of fowls is essentially the debate of dresses.
Or like a gathering of people who make dresses?
Something.
Actually,
I've not read the work.
So I did a little bit of a deeper dive.
Maybe
here.
you should fix that for a future reads video.
I think it's actually an old English translation of, and it's supposed to be fowls, like bird fowls.
Really?
Yeah,
Could
it's it describes a group of birds would gather together in early spring. It basically, he talks about that.
Then why is it spelled the exact same way as the old English word for dressmaking?
I'm sure it
What
was
is
probably
wrong
a
with this
pun
man?
or like a double
Yeah,
entendre. I'm sure.
It is probably a pun. After all, we did just discuss how the myth of birds mating in February is the whole reason why Valentine gets all this love thing going for him. But yeah, thanks for the birds and the love and all this stuff. And the thing about Chaucer is he is very well known for taking liberties with history and placing fictional characters at historical events and sort of having, you know, St. Valentine show up to do all this romance lovey thing, even though that's not what he really did, is definitely not something Chaucer's above. And because of this poem, love is linked to the celebration of St. Valentine's Day, and the Cupids get brought in, and everything just snowballs
Oh, jeez.
from here. This is the man who is responsible for turning St. Valentine's Day into Singles Awareness Week.
Ah, nice.
I had to work that in at least once. I hate my life.
Anyways, continuing on. Afterwards, in the 18th century.
Oh yeah, this is a fun one. In the 18th century, the English really get involved.
Not again.
More than they already are, because you see, it's going to be our favorite word here as archaeologists on Historical Humans: English antiquarians,
aka collectors.
people who go into other cultures and collect their lives, usually at gunpoint.
Oh, this is important to you? Cool, I'll add it to my collection. La-di-da-di-da-di-da.
Yeah. And now I have your sacred object. Oh, and I shot 2 of you on the way out.
Sorry
Cheerio.
about that. Yeah, cheerio, chaps.
The antiquarians are Albin Butler and Francis Douce.
I believe that is different pronunciation.
I will call him Deuce. Douce. How would you you say this?
Probably Ducey.
Duque.
Douse?
I
He's not
prefer Duque.
French. His name is Francis, but he's not French.
Francois Doucet.
Boo. Again, he's English. We pronounce things with a horribly mangled way.
All right, so what are these two people have to
they,
do with this?
They have the honor of putting forth a rather fun theory that Valentine's Day became a holiday in the Middle Ages, not because of Geoffrey Chaucer, not because of the myth about the birds mating for life in the springtime and February, but it was put together in the Middle Ages to suppress the celebration of Lupercalia.
It's basically the whole Christian Christmas Saturnalia kind of situation, ain't it?
Yeah. Basically, Lupercalia was a Roman pagan holiday where young men stripped down to next to nothing, wore wolf cloaks, and ran through the streets of the cities, essentially smacking women.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I know this. I know this holiday. That's mentioned in Julius Caesar.
It's mentioned in Julius. Yes, it is.
It's a fertility holiday.
It's a fertility. Yes, basically, you as a young woman would go out and you would try to get struck by as many wolves as possible in the hopes that this beating would grant you fertility.
Oh my god!
Yeah, what kind of? They use a specific type of plant, tree branch. I can't think of what it is.
It was not just a drive-by, pile driver. This is they had to strike you with some very specific instruments.
It's probably like like olive. It might have been olive twigs. It might have been what are they called? Mistletoe. What we call mistletoe now. Something.
Yeah. It was celebrated on the 15th of February, so it is, it's a fertility rite right about the same time as this Christian romantic rite. So there is there is all sorts of there is some parallelism to the names.
Right. And then I think we should keep going and go on to the relics of Saint Valentine.
Yeah. We got the relics. This is a fun one. So this is so Christian saints are known for having relics, which are parts of their bodies that are imbued with holy power and enshrined in holy places. They are known for having too many body parts to be a single human being.
This sounds like a very common occurrence, if I'm going to be honest.
The aforementioned two skulls.
Yep. The skull of Saint Valentine, which we already mentioned in the Basilica of Santa Maria in Cosmedin, Rome.
I wish I had seen that.
Yeah. Then we have the catacombs of Saint Hippolytus. Now, this is located on the Via Turbentina. And in 1836, there were a number of relics excavated from this catacombs that were identified as belonging to Saint Valentine rather than Saint Hippolytus, the man whose catacomb it is supposed to be. It seems one saint was interred with the bones of another saint.
That must have been awkward.
Yes. These were transported to Rome for a special mass dedicated to young love at the time. So yes, the Pope at the time gave a special ceremony using the recently excavated bones.
I would if I had to go back in time, I feel like that would be an interesting moment to see.
Yeah, would have been a sight to see. It's also where a lot of the other mentions of various things comes from is these catacombs. The most fun one of them is Saint Valentine's blood.
Okay, interesting.
How do you do that?
A vial of blood, presumably preserved from the man. Again, he was burned alive. So we really don't know whose blood this is.
I mean, he was probably beaten a few times. There's
Also, the
probably
fact
plenty
that
of
like
opportunity.
we don't really have a trail of it up until it became a gift.
Yeah. Well, no, this was given to Father John Spratt in 1836, which you'll notice is the same year that we excavated all those relics from the catacombs. So that was
Oh,
the
okay.
year it resurfaced. That's why I said those catacombs are going to be responsible for most of the other items on this list.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Which is why they come out at this weird time. It was a gift from Pope Gregory the 16th, who gave the special mass dedicated to young love to Father Spratt. And it stands in Father Spratt's church. It is the Whitefriar Street Church in Dublin, Ireland.
So another place I need to go visit.
Already
It's
been there.
Yeah, I've been in Dublin too. It's
I
fun.
technically I've been to Dublin, but
Yeah,
I
it
was only
doesn't
in the
count.
airport.
That
Yeah, I was in
doesn't
the
count.
airport for a 14-hour layover. over
You
And
there.
you
have
didn't
been to
leave?
Dublin the same way I have been to Zurich, okay? Neither
Yeah.
of us have set foot in the city.
Of course I couldn't leave. It was midnight, mid-COVID.
Oh, he gets so mad. He gets so mad. Look at him. He's a Scotsman mad he couldn't go to Ireland.
Ireland's not a
I'm
Scotland.
more English than Scots.
I'm the Scotsman here, and I'm
Ooh,
offended.
even worse.
It's the hodgepodge. It's the trifecta. The only thing missing is Welsh.
They're too busy with their sheep, anyways.
No, okay.
I got it in for today. Yes.
God!
I
yes,
saw
yes,
that coming
yes,
a mile away, and I still couldn't stop it. Anyway,
Oh, look at you now.
Oh, beautiful.
Bring it out to accent.
there are anyway. On the Michelin tour of St. Valentine's body parts, we come to Prague, which is a fun one. There are alleged relics to be found in the Church of St. Peter and St. Paul in Vizhrad, in Prague. This is a kind of a fun one because as we go down the list, it becomes less and less accepted that these relics are in fact belonging to Saint Valentine. They are still claimed by the parish, and the Catholic Church as a whole doesn't disavow any of them. But we become increasingly skeptical as the list goes on, and that's why everything from here on out says alleged. In part because some of these were found at the churches that display them, and others just showed up with no paper trail.
Understandable.
Usually
So
how that
is
works
why
in our field.
it becomes increasingly alleged. Yeah, but like with the blood, there was documentation that there was this tomb that had these things in it that we understand to belong to this man. These things
Blood
just
even
sort of.
last that
I
long?
opened the door to the church one day, and outside in a halo was this object.
All right. So
So,
Poland had alleged artifacts found in parish church of St. Mary's Assumption in Chelmno.
Yep. France has some in the reliquary of Romare.
Vienna has some in Stephansdom.
Yes,
Malta has relics found in Balsan.
And if you get tired of this seemingly like language learning video we're doing, well, we're not apologizing for that.
This is the most foreign language of them all, though.
Yep.
I
In
learned
Scotland,
Latin.
Yep. Scotland, of all places,
They hardly
has
speak English.
has relics in what has to be the longest name on this list. In Blessed John Donne Scottish Church in the Gorbals area of Glasgow.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. We love a good Scottish reference.
Yep. It's 8 words, or as the Welsh call it, a single syllable.
I've been to the town with the longest name in Wales. I could not repeat the name. But I think this is actually a good time before we get into the other St. Valentine's to take a moment and actually plug a project that we have been working on called the Humanitarian Collections. What it is a t-shirt company that we have commissioned a design for. where the profits will be donated to charity. We are doing this as a way to try and give back and try and support some causes that we personally believe in. And this upcoming collection will be supporting the Trevor Project.
Yes, we'll be supporting the Trevor Project. The Trevor Project is a wonderful institution dedicated to suicide prevention among LGBTQ plus youth. It is a very necessary foundation. It's kind of sad that we do need them in the world, but they are very much needed, and we recommend that you go check them out as soon as my screen stops shaking. Had a small earthquake over here.
Given the situation today regarding any one part of the community, it's clear that the foundation help or any bit of help is appreciated.
Yeah.
We encourage you to go and donate on your own time if you can, or if you would like to get some merchandise. We will be launching the humanitarian store soon with our Trevor Project exclusive T-shirt.
The links will be in the show notes and the description of the video, or the website is Humanitarian Collections.
Yeah. And I believe yeah, .com. Yes,
good. Gotta add that.
I believe the storefront is up now with our products. That is correct.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we are open. We will be looking to add more merchandise as time goes on, but for now, be sure to check out our first couple of products. All of our products are made by members of the community, so you will be donating to a LGBTQ plus community using buying art made by LGBTQ plus individuals. So
I do think we should also mention that we also do use a portion of the profits to support the artist as well.
Yes,
we don't like starving artists.
Our artists are paid both by commission and by sales, so that basically, who doesn't like extra money?
Exactly, trying to help out. But enough of
especially in this economy, man.
Oh yeah. But yeah, like we said, links will be in the description down below. Try not to make this drag on too more. So now let's pivot right back to the story and go back to who are the other Saint Valentines. There's more than one or two.
Yeah, there are several. There are several. There are the Saint Valentine of Rome. However, there are several others who have I just have little notes, just basically their feast days and maybe one or two other things. There is Saint Valentine of Viterbo, whose feast day.
Viterbo! I've been there!
Yep. His feast day is the 3rd of November. Then there is Saint Valentine of Eurasia, whose feast day is the 7th of January.
Saint Valentina, a female Saint Valentine, who was a virgin martyred in Palestine on July 25th, 308.
Yep. That's a phone. Yep, that's right. There is, in fact, a woman saint with the name of Valentine on it. That is a very rare occurrence, especially given the time period in which she is sainted. So that is a fun one, Roman era one. Then there is the most recent of all the Saint Valentines. That's right. If you thought Valentine stopped getting canonized after the 8th century when the name declined, you are sorely mistaken, as there is Saint Valentine Barrio Ochoa, who was a bishop. He was a bishop and was beheaded in 1861 in Vietnam.
Oof.
He was. Yeah, he was canonized by John Paul II in 1988.
Yes.
So it was the most recent, I believe, the most recent one to live and the most recent to be canonized.
But there was also.
Yep. Speaking of popes,
there was Pope Valentine, who reigned for 40 whole days in the year 827.
That's weird.
Not really. You the Christians are being persecuted, and
In 827?
well, they're mostly persecuting themselves at this point.
Yeah.
In 827? Did I miss something?
There is a period of time, I believe, about the ninth, from about the 9th to 10th centuries, where the popes become a bit political before they become really political in the 11th century, and there's a certain degree of infighting
Oh, jeez.
among themselves.
Oh man, I can't believe I didn't learn about this one. Future episode, I think.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Yeah. He kind of Pope Valentine had a very short reign on account of the fact that it was believed he had been Pope Eugene II, his predecessor. He had been that man's lover.
Oh.
Oh,
Wow.
It is believed for that. He was a wealthy Roman aristocrat, and he lasted about 40 days in office.
Alright.
So, as you can imagine, if being the boyfriend of the previous pope is how you got this job in the Catholic Church, you would not want to hold on to it for long.
Wow, the Catholic Church dealing with corruption?
Alrighty, Aaron, on that terrible bombshell, you now have a platform for. I will give you 2 minutes, and I will start a stopwatch if you would like to rant about your birthday.
Right. So my birthday is quite literally 2 days after Valentine's Day, right? And about every few years, if Valentine's Day was on a Friday and mine was going to be on the Sunday, it ruined plans completely. So I have a bit of a personal vendetta against Valentine's Day just because of this, because I would have friends who would be in a relationship, even like in high school, like even before they could drive, they'd be like, well, I want to go spend time with my girlfriend. It's a whole weekend. What are you going to do? Huh? You're not going to go drive to like a cabin in the woods. You ain't going to go somewhere like nice and fancy. You're too broke. I know you are. And so I'd be like, and nobody wants to do anything on Sunday. Nobody wants to spend the night there or anything on Sunday. Nobody wants to have fun on Sunday. They're like, I have school tomorrow. I'm like, no, you don't. Don't lie to me. I know you don't. Because you know what Monday is? You know what the Monday is? President's Day. Which means we don't have that day. But no, so like every few years, like my entire birthday weekend, even though I wasn't born on Valentine's Day, I'd still have it ruined every now and then. And even sometimes I would have friends who'd be like, well, since Valentine's Day is in the middle of the week, we want to do it the following weekend. No.
So you're sad because you're single.
Even if I wasn't, even if I was single, even though I am single, even if I was in a relationship, I would still demand we do something separate from Valentine's Day and my birthday, because that's about fucking me, man. It's about me.
I hate to break it to you, but the gap around your birthday and Valentine's Day is about the same as mine and Christmas, and you don't see me ranting about Jesus.
I know you are. I know deep down in your heart you are upset that your birthday is overshadowed by a
my
holiday.
Birthday is right next to Juneteenth, and I'm not complaining. I'm perfectly okay with that.
Oh yeah, you're not complaining now.
I don't complain at all. I'm fully okay with Juneteenth being the day after.
We are stopping the podcast now before Justin digs us a grave.
What? I love that. Anyways, yeah.
Anyway,
Aaron, your time's up. Sorry. Hanging up on you. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, please be sure to hit subscribe and be sure to watch all of our future episodes, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.